Hello my friends, it's Buck Weezer and this is Buck Small Engine DIY on YouTube. And today I'm looking at this Craftsman lawn tractor. It's got the Briggs twin cylinder, 22 horsepower. I'm told it doesn't start or run, so we try and diagnose the no start thing and thought that would be fun to do together. I started by checking the battery. It's about 2 years old. It was a little under voltage, probably from trying to start it unsuccessfully or just from sitting all winter, I don't know. But I charged it up. I also used my King Bolin battery tester and it checks out fine, so I don't think that's the issue. I don't really know why it doesn't start or run, but let's, I'm gonna jump in the driver's seat and we'll see what happens. Brake, key switch, and nothing on the crank. I mean zero, like zip, zilch, zero, nada. Okay. Now, the hour meter's lit up at 301 hours, so battery's doing something. But that's it. So we gotta figure out what's going on with that. We'll have to take a closer look. He told me at one point he had the starter solenoid replaced. So let's start there. There's a 30 amp fuse down there. I pulled it just to check it. That looks fine, so that's not the issue. So I got my 12 volt test light here. It works. So what I want to do is this is our coming from the key switch. I believe this is it. This white one coming from the key switch. I haven't looked at a wiring diagram, but that's probably it. It's either that or this one. This black one might be ground. And I just want to turn the key switch and see if our test light lights up. So it does not. So I'm not getting any power from through this line, the secondary terminal and the key switch, but I wonder if it will crank if we use a jumper wire from battery positive directly to this terminal. And I got some wires here with alligator clips that are good for this kind of thing. So let me just get one out and we'll just jump it real quick from the battery positive. Well, I'll connect it first to the solenoid. Now if I touch this to battery positive, that's taking positive to the solenoid, will it crank at that point? And it will. So solenoid does work if 12 volts is supplied to it on that secondary terminal. We got to figure out what in the system is impeding 12 volts from coming from the key switch to here. All right, so that's our task. All right, well that quick we've made progress. I reached in here to the wiring harness on the key switch. I unplugged it. I plugged it back in. Turn the key and guess what? Alright, so I don't know, something loose in there. I'll have to look at it a little more closely. Maybe that's all it was. It just needed to be jiggled up in there. Seems like the key switch is working okay, but sometimes it's not making good contact, or it's been sitting all winter and I don't know. So I guess we resolved the starting issue pretty quickly, didn't we? Or did we? So here's the key switch, just popped it out of the tractor. It's got some dust on it. The terminals look okay. I think I'm just going to clean it off. Maybe file or use a little sandpaper on each of those terminals. Inspect the where the harness plugs into it. And make sure it's all clean and good to go. It might have just been a little dirty and wasn't making contact. Alright, so here's the key switch I removed from the tractor. And I took a file and some sandpaper to all of these contacts. And just thought I'd go the extra mile here. Here's a diagram of this same key switch. This I'd printed out for a different tractor, but it's the exact same key switch. So we see in this legend here, I don't know if you can read it, but I'll explain it to you. When the key is in the start position, and of course that's all the way to the right, clockwise, the spring-loaded position, right? That's start. When it's in start, you got to hold it there or it won't stay there because it springs back to run. But when it's in the start position, according to our legend here, we should have continuity between three contacts, B, S, and A1. Now B is going to be battery, S is the starting circuit that goes to the solenoid, and A1 is probably supplying power to the base of the carburetor, the solenoid at the base of the carburetor. So let's just see if, now it was working on the tractor after I had plugged this back in. Let's just see, they're labeled here on the back. So sometimes I need to put on stronger glasses. Which one's B? This one's S, so that's going to be start. A1 is up here. And where's your battery? Rats, I can't see. Hold on. I've got stronger glasses. Okay, so this one's B. So when I'm holding the key in the start position, we should have continuity between the B, A1, and start. Now, it's impossible for me to do this. You need like a second person to hold it for you, but I've got it. If I can hold it in that start position, which I probably can't, will I have continuity here? That's B. That's S. A1. Alright, so I think the key switch is actually working fine. I think we simply had some bad contacts, so cleaning these terminals up a little bit with some sandpaper and a file. And I'll look at the wiring harness and make sure that looks okay too, and we'll plug it back in and hope it continues to work properly for us. So back here at the machine, this is the harness, the connector for the key switch, and these all look good to me. They look clean, maybe a little dust, but not much. I don't see any corrosion. I think we just had the bad luck of one of the terminals not making good contact. So let's put it back together and try it again. So the key switch just pops in here, and it's got these tabs that go in these grooves, and that holds it in. Pretty simple, just like that. And then we plug the harness in the back. Alright, let's test this out again. It hasn't run since last year, so let's cheat a little bit with some starting fluid. It does crank. Uh-oh, guess what? It's not cranking. Seriously? It's absolutely not cranking now. Oh, the plot thickens. What exactly did we do? Well, I continued to poke around here, and I'm looking here at this positive battery feed to the top of the solenoid, and then we got this red wire that goes to the key switch. So this is providing power back to the key switch, and it's crimped here. There's a crimp connector. It doesn't seem like this boot is on there correctly, and the guy told me that somebody had replaced this solenoid. I can't really tell if it's original or not. But maybe there's something going on with this wire connector that's not happy. Now, ever since I started fiddling with it and moving it, the engine is cranked every time. So I don't know if I need to redo this connection. That's the problem when you have an issue. It's intermittent. It doesn't always manifest itself. You don't know if you've really fixed it. See, so it's cranking now. In other news, it's cranking, but I haven't gotten it to start yet, except to run briefly on starting fluid. So that's something else to diagnose. So we'll see what happens. But so far, the last 6-10 times that I've turned the key to start, it's cranked. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue was, or if we fixed it, or if I should redo that connection. Hard to know. All right, well, I got the tractor running. It was only running on starting fluid, and I began to think I need to check the anti-backfire solenoid at the base of the carburetor, because I verified power and ground to the connector when the key's in run, but I couldn't hear it click. You can hear it click when you turn the key before you start the engine, and I actually pulled the solenoid out of the tractor, and it was completely frozen up, so it wasn't allowing any fuel through the jet. So we resolved that, and I haven't had any trouble starting it. And I'm thinking to myself now, maybe the issue is this poor connector. See that? And perhaps when I originally had removed this white wire coming from the key switch, I had jostled this enough to make connection again, and it really had nothing to do with the key switch or the wiring harness at the key switch at all. And I think, and because he told me that this had been replaced by somebody, and like this cover doesn't fit anymore, I want to redo this connection because I don't trust it, and I think that might be the source of our problem. So I'm going to disconnect the battery. I'm going to disconnect this cable here on top of the solenoid. I'm going to cut this connection apart and redo it, and because I'm afraid that might have been the problem. And I don't want to send the tractor back if the problem is still intermittent and unreliable. So that's where we're at. All right, welcome back. It's been a day or two, and I wanted to think about this problem a little bit more, sleep on it, as they say. And I was thinking, although it was probably a good idea to redo this connection here like we did at the battery at the starting solenoid that provides power to the key switch, that really was not our problem initially, because when I sat down on this tractor to start it in our very first opening clip here, I had power to the key switch, because when I turned it to run, the hour meter came on. I hit the switch for the lights. You may have seen that. I had the hood on at the time. The lights came on. All that's fed through the key switch. So we did have power to the key switch. We simply did not have power coming to the starting circuit on this white wire to the solenoid. So I decided, well, I think maybe I should look up the wiring diagram, and that's what I did. And I've got this right here in front of me, and I want to show it to you real quick. Now you can easily look up the wiring diagram on SearsPartsDirect.com, because it's a Craftsman's tractor, and if you've got the tractor number, you can find the schematic, the wiring diagram, and these can be very helpful. I simply wanted to trace the starting circuit And hopefully that'll focus for you. Maybe not. From the key switch to the solenoid. I wanted to know how does that starting circuit travel, and I outlined it here in blue. So from the S terminal and the key switch, we know we had power to key switch, all right? We know that we had power there. It goes, when you turn to start, this should be energized, and it takes power to the PTO switch. This has got an electric PTO. So as long as the PTO switch is off, the 12 volts will flow through that, and then they'll go to the brake switch, the clutch pedal switch, and if the clutch is depressed, it will flow through to the solenoid. That's it. That's the entire starting circuit. So the only things that could be affected are the key switch, which we verified was working good, the PTO switch, which turns on the blades for cutting grass, or the clutch safety switch. You know, the seat switch has nothing to do with the starting circuit. The starting circuit does not run through the seat switch. The seat switch will cut off a running tractor by grounding out the magneto, the ignition, but it's not part of the starting circuit. So the only things that could be affected in our starting circuit are the key switch, the PTO switch, or the clutch pedal safety switch. That's it. We saw that we had fuse and we had power to the key switch. So I'm not going to go replacing parts until I actually know which one has failed. And right now, I don't know that. And I don't want to guess. I want to test. But right now, everything seems to be working fine, right? So let's go back to the tractor. All right, here's our PTO switch. Here's our key switch, PTO switch. And this is our brake pedal, our clutch. So let's push that. And we'll lock it in position. So that's depressed, and now it should start. I mean, it should crank when we turn it. Turn the key switch. Right, so there's run. Okay, we do have power to the key switch. Our hour meter has come on. We know we've got power. Can't turn the lights on because I removed the hood. But at our next position, we should start. This guy should crank. I don't know if it'll start, but at least just let's get it to crank. And it does. We'll just stop right there for now. So it's working like it should, but I have not specifically identified what the problem was. So I think my conclusion is simply going to be it's working now, maybe for sitting all winter. We didn't have a good connection somewhere in the PTO switch, the key switch, foot pedal switch. But I can't fix it if it's not broke. So I'm going to return it to the tractor owner, and I'll tell him, you know, if it manifests itself again and doesn't want to start, then we'll have to dig into it a little bit deeper. But for now, that's really all we can do. On a personal note, I'm redoing our basketball court out back, and I just painted, used some paint from Home Depot, glossy red on this rim. That turned out really nice. There's the hardware. So I'm excited about redoing that, and hopefully the kids and I can enjoy playing some hoops together out back.